Hey there. Tonight we're going back, not to a time of stone castles and steel armor, but to a world of endless trees, winding rivers, and smoke that rises from bark-covered homes. We're stepping into the eastern woodlands of North America, hundreds of years before the first European ships would become a permanent sight on the horizon. We're going to explore what life was really like inside a Native American clan. But forget the romantic paintings of silent, stoic figures staring nobly into the sunset. Forget the myths of a simple, effortless existence in perfect harmony with nature. The truth, as it so often is, was far more complex, far more difficult, and far more interesting. It was a life of profound connection, but also profound hardship. A life where your world was held together by kinship, ritual, and the constant, back-breaking work of survival. If this kind of calm, slow history helps you unwind, feel free to like the video and subscribe, but only if it actually brings you peace. And let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is right now. It's always strangely comforting to see who's out there, listening in the quiet corners of the world, falling asleep to the same quiet story. So, dim the lights. Turn on a fan if you like that soft background hum. Settle in, get comfortable, and let's begin our journey. We're not just observing. We're going to step inside. The air is cool, heavy with the scent of damp earth and wood smoke, and you have work to do. Congratulations. You've just been born into the turtle clan of a village nestled in a river valley somewhere in the vast green expanse that will one day be called New York. The year is not important. You don't count years. You count seasons, harvests, the passing of elders, and the first snows of winter. Your world is not one of maps and borders, but of relationships, smells, and sounds. Your first sensation of the world is smoke. Not the harsh chemical smoke of a modern city, but the rich, ever-present scent of burning hardwood. It clings to everything. Your mother's deerskin wrap, the woven basswood fibers of your cradle board, the very air you breathe. It's the smell of home, the smell of warmth, the smell that keeps the insects at bay and the darkness from feeling absolute. It is the constant breath of your village. Your world is a forest, not a park, not a managed woodlot, but an immense, living entity that stretches in every direction farther than anyone has ever walked. The trees are Titan's oak, maple, hickory, pine, and birch, so tall their tops seem to touch the sky. The canopy is so thick that in the height of summer, the forest floor lives in a perpetual twilight, a world of deep greens and browns, dappled with spears of light that shift with the wind. This forest is not scenery. It is your pantry, your hardware store, your pharmacy, and your cathedral. It is everything. It provides the deer, bear, and turkey that your father and uncles hunt. It offers the nuts, berries, and roots that your mother and aunts gather. Its trees give the bark for your home, the wood for your fire, the sap for sweet syrup, and the materials for your tools, your bowls, and your canoes. But it is not a gentle provider. The forest is also a place of profound danger. It is home to wolves and mountain lions that can stalk a careless hunter. It contains plants that look like food but carry a sleep from which you don't wake up. Get lost in its depths, and you might wander for days, your calls for help swallowed by the endless trunks, until you simply become part of the earth again. You learn from infancy to read its language, the snap of a twig, the track of a deer in mud, the call of a specific bird that signals rain, the feeling of the air before a storm. This is the only education that truly matters. Your village is not a city of stone or a town with streets. It is a clearing, carved from the woods with sweat and fire, overlooking a river that serves as your highway and your source of life. The village is surrounded by a palisade, a tall, defensive wall made of sharpened logs driven deep into the ground. It's not there for decoration. It's a stark reminder that your clan is not the only clan, and that peace is a season, not a permanent state of being. Inside the palisade, the ground is bare, packed earth, worn smooth by generations of footsteps. The central feature is the cluster of longhouses, the homes of your people. These are not small, individual huts. They are immense structures, some stretching for over 100 feet, built from a framework of bent saplings and covered in sheets of elm bark, sewn together with cordage made from inner bark fibers. They look like great arched tunnels, their rounded roofs designed to shed snow and rain. From a distance, they appear as organic as the hills around them, like great sleeping animals settled in the clearing. The air in the village is a symphony of smells. The sharp tang of wood smoke is the base note, but woven through it are the smells of life. The earthy scent of the corn, bean, and squash fields that lie just outside the walls. The fishy aroma from the racks where shad or eel are drying, the faint, gamey smell of tanning hides, and the smell of dozens of human bodies living in close quarters, their scent mingling with the wood smoke and the earth. There is no silence here. Not true silence. There is the constant murmur of voices from the longhouses, the rhythmic thump of a woman pounding corn into meal in a hollowed-out log, the sharp crack of a flint knapper shaping a new arrowhead, the laughter of children playing a game with pebbles, and the distant, steady barking of the dogs that are both companions and sentinels. This is your entire world. You might know that other villages exist upriver or downriver. You might have seen traders from a distant clan arrive in a canoe laden with fine flint from a place you can't imagine, or shells from a great saltwater you've only heard of in stories. But your reality is this clearing, this forest, this river. Your feet know the feel of every path, your eyes know the shape of every longhouse, and your heart knows the face of every person who shares this small, smoky, noisy, dangerous, and beautiful world with you. You are part of the land, and the land is part of you. You do not own it. You belong to it. Your home is not a private sanctuary. The very concept of privacy, as a modern person would understand it, does not exist. Your home is a longhouse, and you share it not just with your mother, father, and siblings, but with your entire maternal line. Welcome to a life lived in public, from your first breath to your last. Step inside. The transition from the outside world is stark. The bright sun is replaced by a long, smoky gloom. The air is thick, warm, and heavy with the smells of bodies, cooking fires, stored food, and drying herbs. A central corridor runs the length of the building, and down its center, spaced about 20 feet apart, is a series of hearths. These are simple fire pits dug into the earthen floor, their smoke rising lazily towards smoke holes in the roof. These holes are the only source of light besides the doors at either end of the structure. When it rains or snows, they are partially covered with bark, plunging the interior into an even deeper twilight and making the air almost unbreathably thick with smoke. Your eyes will sting constantly until you no longer notice it. On either side of the central aisle are the family compartments. These are not rooms, but raised platforms, about 2 feet off the ground, covered with rush mats and furs. Each compartment belongs to a nuclear family, a mother, her husband, and their children. Your family has one. Across the aisle, your mother's sister lives with her family. A little further down, your grandmother, the matriarch of this longhouse, presides over her own fire. You are living in a house owned and run by women. You belong to your mother's clan, the Turtle Clan. Your identity, your name, and your place in the world are all traced through her. Your father lives here, but he is of a different clan, perhaps the wolf or the bear. He is, in a sense, a guest in his wife's home. Your family's space is small. Everything you own fits on or under this platform. Woven baskets hold dried corn and beans. Clay pots, blackened from the fire, sit near the hearth. Your father's bow and arrows hang from the support posts. Your mother's bone needles and sinew thread are tucked into a leather pouch. There are no walls between compartments, only the shared support posts of the house itself. You can hear every conversation, every argument, every whisper from your neighbors. You know when they sleep, when they wake, when they are sick, and when they are happy. There are no secrets. This lack of privacy fosters a deep sense of community, but also a complex system of etiquette. You learn to be considerate, to keep your voice down, to not stare. You learn to resolve conflicts quietly, because a shouting match involves not 2 people, but 60. Disputes are mediated by the clan mothers, the elder women who hold the true authority in the longhouse and the village. Their word is law, and their judgment is final. To defy them is to risk being ostracized, a fate almost worse than death, in a world where survival depends entirely on the group. Sleeping is a communal affair. As night falls, the fires are banked to smouldering coals, and the longhouse fills with the soft sounds of sleep, the breathing of dozens of people, a child's murmur, the twitch of a dog dreaming by the hearth. You sleep huddled together with your siblings under a heavy bearskin or several deer hides. It's warm, but it's also a tangle of limbs. You learn to sleep through the snores of your uncle and the occasional cry of a baby. The longhouse is a living building. The bark creaks in the wind. Rain drums on the roof. In winter, snow piles up against the sides, insulating it, making the interior a dark, cozy womb against the howling cold. But it's also a constant battle against the elements and pests. The thatch and bark are home to insects. Mice and other rodents are a constant threat to the food stores, which is why every longhouse has several dogs and probably a few semi-tamed cats. The earthen floor can become damp and muddy. The smoke from the fires, while preserving the wood of the roof, coats everything in a layer of soot. Life is loud. The sound of a dozen simultaneous conversations, of children playing, of corn being ground, of someone chipping at a piece of flint, all echo under the curved roof. It is a place of constant social interaction, but it is also a place of immense security. In the longhouse, you are never truly alone. If you are sick, there are a dozen people to bring you water or broth. If you are a child, you have countless aunts and uncles to watch over you. If a predator is near, the cry of alarm spreads instantly. You are one part of a larger organism, and your survival is tied to the health of the whole house. This is the paradox of your life. You have no personal space, but you are held in the safest space imaginable, the heart of your kin. You are a woman. From the moment you can walk, your life is one of labor. Not mindless toil, but skilled, essential work that keeps the clan alive. While the men hunt and fish, it is the women who provide the vast majority of the calories your people consume. You are not a farmer in the sense of a man behind a plough. You are a horticulturalist, a master of the earth, and your domain is the field of the Three Sisters. Just outside the village palisade lie the cornfields. These are not the neat, linear rows of modern agriculture. The fields are a chaotic, tangled, but brilliantly designed ecosystem. You don't plough the earth. Instead, you work in mounds, small hills of soil raked up with a hoe made from a deer's shoulder blade lashed to a wooden handle. The work is backbreaking. You spend weeks in the spring, your back bent under the sun, preparing the mounds. Into the top of each mound you plant the first sister, corn. It is the backbone of your diet, the provider of starch and stability. Once the corn stalks have grown a few inches high, you plant the second sister around the base of the corn, beans. The beans are clever. They use the strong corn stalks as a natural trellis, climbing their way towards the sun without needing poles. But they also give back. The beans are nitrogen fixers, their roots pulling nitrogen from the air and replenishing the soil, feeding the nutrient-hungry corn. Finally, once the beans have taken hold, you plant the third sister around the base of the mound, squash. Its broad, prickly leaves spread out across the ground, forming a living mulch. This shades the soil, keeping it moist and cool, and preventing weeds from growing. The spiny leaves also deter pests like raccoons and deer. Together, the Three Sisters are a marvel of sustainable agriculture and a complete nutritional package. The corn provides carbohydrates, the beans provide protein, balancing the amino acids that corn lacks. The squash provides vitamins and healthy fats from its seeds. Eaten together, they form a nearly perfect diet, the foundation of your people's strength. But this perfection is not easily won. Your work in the fields is relentless. From spring until fall, you are weeding, watering, and guarding the crops. You use a hoe to break up the soil and a sharpened stick to pry out stubborn weeds. You carry water from the river in heavy clay pots or bark buckets, your shoulders and neck aching from the strain. You and the other women work together, singing songs to pace the work, sharing gossip, and watching the children who play at the edge of the fields. Pests are a constant threat. Crows can pull up seedlings. Raccoons can devastate a patch of sweet corn overnight. You build small watch huts on stilts in the fields, where young girls or elderly women sit all day, shouting and throwing stones to scare away birds and animals. It's a never-ending vigil. Harvest is the most intense time of all. You work from sunrise to sunset. Your hands raw from pulling ears of corn, twisting squash from their vines, and picking endless pods of beans. The bounty is carried back to the village, in huge woven baskets on your back, supported by a tamplonier strap across your forehead. The weight is immense, but the feeling is one of triumph. But the work isn't over. Now comes preservation. The corn must be dried. Some is hung from the rafters of the longhouse, where the smoke will keep it from moulding. Much of it is shucked, and the kernels are stripped from the cob and stored in bark-lined pits dug deep into the ground. These caches must be perfectly dry and sealed to protect the corn from moisture and rodents through the long winter. A poorly stored cache can mean starvation. The beans are shelled and dried. The squash is cut into rings and hung to dry, becoming hard and light. These preserved foods are the currency of survival. They are what you will eat for the 6 months of the year when nothing grows. Your hands are not soft. They are calloused and strong. Your fingernails permanently rimmed with dirt. Your back has a permanent ache. But you are a provider. You are a life giver. When the men return from a hunt empty-handed, as they often do, it is your work, your foresight, and your stored food that will feed the clan. You are the heart of your people, and your heart beats to the rhythm of the seasons and the growth of the Three Sisters. The fields of the Three Sisters are the center of your world, but your labor extends far beyond them. You are a chemist, an engineer, a tailor, and a doctor. Your knowledge is a library of skills passed down from your mother and grandmother, a collection of secrets for turning the raw materials of the forest into everything your family needs to survive. After the morning's work in the fields, you might head into the woods, not deep like the hunters, but into the familiar edges, the places you know as well as the inside of your longhouse. You carry a woven basket and a digging stick. You are looking for the wild larder. In spring, you hunt for the first green shoots, for wild onions and the tender leaves of milkweed. In summer, it's a bounty of berries, strawberries, raspberries, blueberries that you eat fresh or mash and dry into small cakes for winter. In the fall, it's a race against the squirrels to gather nuts, hickory, walnuts, chestnuts, and acorns. Acorns are bitter and must be leached of their tannins, a long process of soaking and boiling that you perform with practiced patience. You also gather medicinal plants, the ones your grandmother pointed out to you. Golden seal for infections, witch hazel for swellings, willow bark for pain. You dry them carefully and store them in pouches, a small pharmacy of forest remedies. Back in the village, another task awaits, processing hides. When the men bring back a deer, their work is largely done. Yours is just beginning. You take the hide, heavy and bloody, and begin the grueling process of turning it into soft, supple leather. First, you scrape it clean of all flesh and fat with a scraper made of bone or stone. It's messy, smelly work. Then, you stretch it on a frame and begin the dehairing process, often by soaking it in a mixture of water and wood ash. The brain tanning is the most crucial step. You take the deer's own brain, mash it into a paste with water, and work it painstakingly into the hide. The fats and enzymes in the brain break down the fibers of the skin, making it incredibly soft. This process can take days of rubbing, stretching, and pulling until your arms burn with exhaustion. Finally, you smoke the hide over a smouldering fire. This is what makes it water-resistant and gives it its characteristic color and smell. From this single hide, you will make moccasins, leggings, a shirt, or a pouch. Every stitch you sew will be with a needle made from a sharpened bone and thread made from the sinew of the deer's own leg. Nothing is wasted. You're also the potter. You know where to find the best clay along the riverbank. You dig it out, carry it back, and begin the long process of kneading it, removing impurities, and mixing it with crushed shell or grit to keep it from cracking. You don't have a potter's wheel. You build your pots by hand, coil by coil, smoothing the walls with a wet pebble. You incise patterns into the wet clay with a stick or a bone, the geometric designs unique to your clan. Firing the pots is a delicate art. You build a hot fire, and when it has burned down to a bed of glowing coals, you place your pots in it, covering them carefully. Too much heat, and they shatter. Too little, and they remain brittle. A successful firing yields a handful of new, precious containers for cooking and storage. And there is always childcare. There are no daycare centres. Children are a constant presence. You carry your infant on your back in a cradle board while you work in the fields or process hides. Toddlers play at your feet. You teach them as you work, showing them which berries are safe, how to weave a small basket, how to be quiet when the hunters are near. Your children are not a burden. They are the future of the clan, and their education begins at your side. In the evenings, by the flickering light of the longhouse fire, your hands are still not idle. You might be weaving a rush mat, repairing a moccasin, or pounding corn for the next day's meal. Your life is a continuous loop of creation and maintenance. It is exhausting. It is relentless. There are no days off, but in it, there is also immense power and satisfaction. You look around the longhouse, at the food in the storage pits, the clothes on your family's back, the pots by the fire. You made these things. Your skill and your labor are the very fabric of your world. You are not just a woman. You are the foundation upon which your entire culture rests. You are a man. Your role is defined by the hunt, the forest, and the defense of your people. Your work is not the steady, seasonal rhythm of the fields, but a game of chance, skill, and deep spiritual connection. It is a life of intense focus, punctuated by moments of extreme danger, and if you are lucky, profound success. Your primary tool is the bow. It is your most prized possession, something you may have crafted yourself over many weeks. The wood is from a hickory or ash tree, carefully selected, seasoned, and shaped. The string is made from the twisted sinew of a deer's backstrap. Your arrows are fletched with turkey feathers for stability and tipped with points of razor-sharp flint, a material so valuable it is often traded for over long distances. To be a good hunter is to be a master of this weapon, to be able to send an arrow silently and accurately through the dense undergrowth of the forest. You practice constantly, from the time you are a small boy. The hunt is not a sport, it is a sacred endeavor. You do not simply go out to kill. You must first prepare yourself spiritually. You might fast or perform a ritual to show respect to the animal spirits. You believe that the animals, the deer, the bear, the turkey are powerful beings who will only give themselves to a hunter who is worthy, respectful, and in need. To be arrogant or wasteful is to invite failure and disrespect from the spirit world. You hunt in small groups with your brothers, uncles, and cousins from your father's clan. You move through the forest with a silence that is almost supernatural. You have learned to walk without snapping a twig, to read the subtlest signs a bent blade of grass, a faint track in the leaf litter, the smell of a deer on the wind. You communicate with hand signals, a language of silence that allows you to coordinate your movements without alerting your prey. Stalking a deer can take hours, even days. You must be patient, moving slowly, using the wind and terrain to your advantage. A single mistake, a cough, a glint of sun on a shiny object, a sudden movement and the deer will vanish in a flash of white tail, leaving you with nothing but the pounding of your own heart. When the moment comes, it is one of supreme focus. You draw the bowstring back, your muscles taut. The world narrows to the space between you and the animal. You release. The hiss of the arrow is the only sound. A successful shot brings a surge of relief and gratitude. You approach the fallen animal and offer a prayer of thanks to its spirit for giving its life so that your people might live. But success is never guaranteed. The forest is vast, and the animals are clever. Many hunts end in failure. You might return to the village after days away, exhausted and empty-handed. There is no shame in this, only the quiet acceptance that the spirits were not with you. This is why your people rely on the three sisters. The bounty of the fields is predictable, while the bounty of the hunt is a gift. The bear hunt is the most dangerous and spiritually significant of all. The bear is seen as a wise and powerful being, almost human. To hunt a bear is to match your skill and courage against one of the forest's most formidable creatures. It is never done lightly. Bears are hunted in their dens during the winter hibernation. To crawl into the darkness of a den, to face the waking wrath of a cornered bear with nothing but a spear or a bow, is the ultimate test of a man's bravery. A man who kills a bear is afforded great respect. The meat is shared in a ceremonial feast, and the skull is placed in a place of honor to appease the animal's spirit. Beyond hunting, your role is to provide fish from the river. You build weirs fences of stone or wood to trap fish as they swim upstream. You use nets woven from plant fibers and hooks carved from bone. In the spring, when the shad or salmon run, the river boils with life, and you can spear or net hundreds of fish, which are then smoked and dried by the women for storage. You are also the clearer of land. When new fields are needed, it is your job to fell the massive trees of the forest. You don't have metal axes. You use a combination of fire and stone tools. You build a fire at the base of a tree, charring the wood, and then hack away the burnt portion with a stone axe. It is a slow, laborious process that can take days for a single tree. And finally, you are the protector. You are responsible for the defense of the village. You maintain the palisade, ensuring it is strong and secure. You stand watch at night. And if conflict with another group is unavoidable, you are the one who will paint your face, take up your war club and bow, and go out to fight. This part of your life is not about glory. It is a grim duty, a necessary act to protect your kin, your home, and your honor. Your life is a balance of patience and action, of spiritual reverence and brutal reality. Peace is the goal, but war is a reality. The image of the peaceful, harmonious native living in a conflict-free paradise is a dangerous myth. Your world is one of complex alliances, ancient rivalries, and deeply ingrained traditions of warfare. Conflict is not constant, but the threat of it is a shadow that touches everything. War is not fought for conquest in the way a European king might understand it. You do not fight to seize vast territories or to subjugate entire peoples. The reasons for war are more personal, more intimate, and in many ways more terrifying. The most common reason is the mourning war. When a member of your clan is killed by an outside group, either in a skirmish or through perceived witchcraft, the clan is thrown into a state of spiritual imbalance and grief. The souls of the dead cry out for vengeance. The women of the clan, particularly the clan mothers, will often demand that the men form a war party. The goal is not to kill, but to take captives. These captives will then be brought back to the village. Some may be ritually tortured and killed to symbolically appease the grief of the mourning family. Others, particularly women and children, may be adopted into the clan to replace the one who was lost. This is not about cruelty for its own sake. It is a sacred and violent ritual meant to restore balance to the world. Revenge, honor, and prestige are also powerful motivators. A young man may be eager to join a war party to prove his courage and earn his place as a warrior. A successful raid brings honor not just to the individual, but to his entire clan. These are small-scale affairs, more like raids than battles. A party of 12 to perhaps 50 men will travel silently through the forest for days, their goal to surprise an enemy village or a hunting party. Your weapons are extensions of your body. Your primary weapon is the bow, its arrows tipped with sharp flint or chert. But in the close, chaotic fighting of a raid, you rely on your war club. It might be a heavy ball of knotted wood or a stone head lashed tightly to a hickory handle. It is a brutal, skull-crushing weapon. You also carry a stone knife for close quarters fighting. Armor is minimal, perhaps a wooden slat cuirass or a thick leather shirt, but your primary defense is speed, agility, and a terrifying appearance. Before a raid, you prepare your body and spirit. You paint your face and body with symbols of death and powered for life and war. Black for death. You might shave your head except for a scalp lock, a defiant crest that you dare the enemy to try and take. You participate in war dances, the hypnotic rhythm of the drum, and the stomping of feet working the warriors into a collective trance, a state of shared rage and courage. The raid itself is terrifyingly fast. You strike at dawn, bursting from the forest with piercing war cries designed to sow terror and confusion. The fighting is a whirlwind of brutal, personal violence. There are no neat lines of battle, just a chaotic melee of swinging clubs, hissing arrows, and desperate struggles. The goal is to inflict casualties, take captives, and retreat back into the forest before a large-scale defense can be mounted. To be a captive is the most feared fate of all. If you are a man of fighting age, your chances of survival are slim. You will be taken back to the enemy village, where you will be forced to run the Gauntelta double line of villagers, mostly women and children, who will beat you with sticks and clubs as you run between them. It is a test of your endurance and courage. If you survive, you might face ritual torture, a slow and agonizing death designed to test your spirit. You are expected to show no fear, to sing your death song, and to taunt your captors, proving that your spirit is stronger than their ability to inflict pain. It is a horrifying end, but one for which every warrior is prepared. But not all captives are killed. Women and children are often adopted. They are given a new name, a new family, and are expected to become members of their new clan. In a world with high mortality rates, this practice of adoption is a vital way to maintain population levels. The captive, once an enemy, becomes kin. This cycle of mourning, revenge, and adoption creates a state of endemic, low-level warfare. Alliances shift. A clan that was your ally one season might be your enemy the next. This is why the palisade around your village is so important. It is why the men are always training, always ready. The threat is not abstract, it is personal. The man you might fight is not a stranger in a uniform. He is someone who speaks a similar language, who knows the same forest, who may even be a distant relative through a complex web of clan relationships. War in your world is a family affair, and that is what makes it so deeply tragic and so inescapable. You live in an enchanted world. Not enchanted in the sense of fairy tales, but in the sense that the physical and spiritual realms are not separate. They are interwoven, a single tapestry of existence. Every rock, every tree, every animal, and every river possesses a spirit, a life force. You do not see yourself as separate from or superior to nature. You are one small part of a vast, interconnected web of spiritual beings, and your survival depends on maintaining a respectful and balanced relationship with all of them. There is a concept of a great spirit, a creator, a powerful but distant force that set the world in motion. But your daily spiritual life is focused on the countless spirits that inhabit the world around you. You show respect to the spirit of the deer before a hunt. You leave an offering of tobacco for the spirit of a great tree before you take its bark. You believe that these spirits can help you or harm you, depending on how you treat them. To be wasteful, disrespectful, or arrogant is to invite misfortune, failed hunt, a poor harvest, or sickness. Dreams are not random firings of the mind. They are messages from the spirit world. A powerful dream can dictate a person's actions for days, weeks, or even a lifetime. If you dream of a specific animal, it may become your personal guardian spirit. If you have a frightening dream, you will seek out a shaman to help you understand its meaning and what you must do to appease the spirits you may have offended. The interpretation of dreams is a serious and vital part of your culture. Shamans, or medicine people, are the intermediaries between the human and spirit worlds. They are not priests who follow a set doctrine. They are individuals, men or women, who have a special gift, often revealed through a powerful vision or dream in their youth. They are healers, prophets, and spiritual guides. If you are sick, the shaman will not just give you herbs. They will perform a ritual to discover the spiritual cause of your illness. Perhaps you have angered a spirit. Perhaps a malevolent sorcerer from another village has sent a sickness to you. The shaman might enter a trance, aided by the rhythmic beat of a drum and the shaking of a rattle, to journey into the spirit world to find the cause and bring back a cure. Their healing is a combination of herbal medicine, psychological counseling, and spiritual warfare. Ritual and ceremony are the grammar of your life. They mark every important transition: birth, puberty, marriage, death. They mark the changing of the seasons, the planting of the corn, the harvest, and the midwinter renewal. These are not solemn, quiet affairs. They are vibrant community events, involving feasting, dancing, singing, and the giving of thanks. The green corn ceremony, for example, is a multi-day festival to celebrate the first corn harvest. It is a time of renewal, where old fires are extinguished and a new, sacred fire is lit. Old grudges are forgiven. It is a cleansing of the community, both spiritually and socially. You also have secret societies, medicine societies, like the False Face Society. Its members are men who have been cured of an illness by the spirits of the forest, who appeared to them in a dream as distorted, powerful faces. They carve masks that replicate these faces, masks that hold immense spiritual power. When someone in the village is sick, the False Face Society will be called. They will enter the longhouse, wearing their masks, speaking in a strange guttural language, shaking turtle shell rattles, and scattering hot ashes. They are terrifying. They are embodying the wild, chaotic power of the forest spirits. Their ritual is a dramatic, frightening performance designed to scare the diseased spirit out of the sick person's body. To a modern observer, it might look like madness. To you, it is the most powerful medicine you know. Your moral world is not defined by a written code of sins and commandments. It is defined by the concept of balance. Your goal is to live in a way that maintains balance within yourself, within your community, and with the natural and spirit worlds. Generosity, courage, honesty, and respect are the core virtues. Greed, cowardice, and selfishness are the things that throw the world out of balance and invite disaster. You do not fear a hell of fire and brimstone. You fear disharmony. You fear being ostracized from your community. You fear becoming a person who the spirits no longer respect. Your spirituality is not something you practice on a specific day of the week. It is the very lens through which you see and interpret every aspect of your existence. The veil between worlds is thin, and you walk beside spirits every day of your life. The fall is a season of frantic, almost feverish activity, a race against the shortening days and the coming chill. The air itself seems to hum with a sense of urgency. This is the time of the final, great harvest, when the women of the longhouse move through the fields from dawn until dusk, their hands a constant blur of motion as they gather the last of the corn, its husks dry and papery, the beans rattling in their pods, and the heavy orange-fleshed squash. Every day of warm, benevolent weather is a gift from the Creator, a last chance to prepare, to lay in the stores that will mean the difference between life and death. The men and older boys are equally consumed by their tasks. The last great hunts of the year are undertaken, not for immediate consumption, but for preservation. The forests echo with the purposeful activity of tracking deer and bear, their meat and fat essential for surviving the coming scarcity. Simultaneously, the relentless gathering of firewood dominates the days. It is a monumental undertaking, as entire trees are felled, bucked, and split, then carried back to be stacked in immense, towering piles that dwarf the longhouse itself. Every member of the community, down to the smallest child capable of carrying a single stick, participates. We know what is coming. We feel it in the deep, marrow-level memory of our ancestors. The long winter. It is not merely a season on its calendar of the world. It is a trial, a time of immense collective endurance. It is a time when our expansive world of river, forest, and field shrinks to the smoky, cramped, and often contentious confines of the longhouse, and survival itself becomes a quiet, slow-burning struggle against the relentless encroachment of cold and hunger. The first true sign of winter's arrival is not a visual one, but a change in the very air we breathe. One morning, you step outside the longhouse, and the familiar, earthy scent of autumn is gone, replaced by a sharp, clean bite that was not there the day before. It is an invigorating yet ominous scent that speaks of a profound shift in the world's temperament. The last of the migrating geese, their calls a mournful echo in the vast grey sky, finally depart for warmer lands. A profound silence descends upon the forest, the chattering of squirrels and the rustle of small creatures in the underbrush ceasing as if a great door has been closed. Then comes the first snow. It rarely begins as a gentle, picturesque dusting. More often, it is a heavy, determined onslaught, a thick blanket of white that falls for days, transforming the familiar, colourful landscape into a stark, monochromatic world of white and grey. The river, the lifeblood of our community, slows, thickens, and finally freezes over with a series of loud cracks that sound like trees falling in the distance. The well-worn paths to the hunting grounds, the foraging spots, and the neighbouring villages disappear without a trace, swallowed by the deepening drifts. Our world, once a sprawling expanse of possibility, now abruptly ends at the bark and hide walls of our longhouse. The great, white wilderness outside is no longer a place of sustenance, but a place of peril. For the next 4 to 5 months, our existence becomes almost entirely subterranean, an indoor life dictated by the rhythms of the hearth. The heavy hide doors of the longhouse are sealed, their edges packed with moss and snow to block the insidious draughts. The smoke holes in the roof, which in summer provide welcome light and ventilation, are narrowed to small, stingy openings, a necessary compromise to keep the precious warmth from escaping. The interior of the longhouse, already dim in the brightest of seasons, descends into a state of perpetual twilight, a shadowy world lit only by the shifting, orange glow of the smouldering hearths that run down the central corridor. The air, once filled with the fresh scents of the forest, grows thick, stale, and heavy. It is a complex and inescapable miasma, redolent with the smell of dozens of unwashed bodies, the pungent aroma of smoked meat and fish hanging from the rafters, the dampness that clings to the walls, and the ever-present, acrid sting of wood smoke that irritates the eyes and coats the back of the throat. Life slows to a crawl, a deliberate conservation of energy. The primary activity, the unspoken focus of every waking moment, is simply staying warm. We huddle near the fires, wrapped in thick bear and deer furs, our bodies turned towards the life-giving heat. The mountains of firewood we and the other men spent weeks gathering are now our most precious commodity, more valuable than the finest wampum. It is rationed with meticulous care, each log placed on the fire a conscious decision. The fire is never allowed to go out completely, for to relight it in the deep cold would be an arduous and sometimes impossible task. Instead, it is often banked to a bed of glowing coals, a slumbering heart that can be coaxed back to life. The cold is not just an absence of heat, it is a palpable, physical presence. It seeps through the thick bark walls, traces delicate, feathery patterns of frost along the edges of the door flap, and turns our every breath into a visible cloud of mist that hangs in the dim air. Food is the other great obsession, a constant, underlying current of thought and conversation. The caches of dried corn, beans, squash, and the racks of smoked meat and fish stored in deep, bark-lined pits beneath the longhouse floor and hanging from the high rafters are all that stands between our community and starvation. Every meal is a careful, often debated calculation. How much can we afford to eat today to ensure there is still enough for tomorrow, for the week after, and for the long, hungry months that lie ahead? The diet is crushingly monotonous. The daily meal is often a thin, watery stew of rehydrated corn and beans, perhaps flavored with a precious piece of smoked fish or a spoonful of rendered bear grease to provide some much-needed fat and flavor. Fresh food is a distant, almost dreamlike memory. By the time the winter moons have waxed and waned several times, the threat of starvation becomes chillingly real. If the harvest was poor, or if moisture crept into the storage pits and caused the food to rot, the stores will run dangerously low. We will grow thin, our faces gaunt, our energy reserves dwindling until even the smallest task feels like a monumental effort. The gnawing, hollow ache of hunger will become a constant companion, a dull pain that sleep rarely vanquishes. This enforced idleness is not a time of complete rest, however. It is a time for the men to meticulously work on their tools and weapons. They sit by the fire for hours on end, their hands weathered and calloused, but their movements precise and economical. They chip away at chunks of flint, the sharp, percussive sounds echoing in the stillness as they fashion new arrowheads and spear points. They carefully straighten arrow shafts over the heat of the fire, their eyes squinting in the dim light to ensure perfect alignment. They carve new bows from seasoned hickory or ash, or painstakingly repair the fishing nets that will be so vital in the spring. Their hands are never idle, for they know that our survival in the coming seasons depends on the quality of the tools they prepare in the darkness of winter. For the women, it is a time for the endless tasks of sewing, weaving, and mending. They take out the soft, supple hides that were tanned in the fall and begin the meticulous work of creating new moccasins or leggings, piercing the tough leather with a sharp bone awl and stitching with thread made from twisted animal sinew. They weave baskets and mats from dried grasses and reeds, their fingers moving with a practiced, rhythmic grace. Yet, winter is not solely a time of hardship and deprivation. Paradoxically, it is also a time of intense community, a period when our culture is strengthened and passed down through the generations. With no work to be done in the fields or the forest, this becomes the sacred season for storytelling. The elders, both men and women, are the revered keepers of our people's history, our myths, our laws, and our legends. Every night, after the meagre evening meal, the clan gathers around the central fire, the children nestled amongst the adults, and an elder will begin a story. Their voice, raspy from age and the smoky air, fills the longhouse, weaving tales of the creation of the world on the back of a great turtle, of the adventures and misadventures of cultural heroes, of the great wars of the past that shaped our confederacy, and of the powerful spirits that inhabit the forests, the rivers, and the sky. We have heard these stories hundreds, perhaps thousands of times, but we listen with rapt attention. They are not mere entertainment. They are the living threads that bind us together, that remind us of who we are, where we come from, and our place in the great order of the universe. This is how our history is kept alive, breathed into the next generation in the warm, smoky heart of the longhouse. It is also a time for games and small pleasures that break the monotony. The men might gather in a corner to play a game of skill and chance with polished fruit pits, decorated on one side, which are tossed like dice. They gamble for small, personal items, a well-made arrowhead, a twist of tobacco stakes low but the competition fierce and good-natured. Children play quietly, their laughter a welcome, though subdued, sound. Music, too, finds its place in the winter gloom. Someone might bring out a flute carved from the bone of a bird, its high, haunting notes a stark contrast to the howling wind outside. Another might begin a soft, rhythmic beat on a drum made from a hollowed log and a piece of stretched hide. The soft, hypnotic sounds fill the smoky air of the longhouse, a small, beautiful defiance against the oppressive silence and the crushing cold. But the constant confinement and lack of privacy can also breed tension. Living in such close quarters for months on end can fray nerves and shorten tempers. Minor irritations, a child's cry, a perceived slight, a dispute over a share of food can fester in the dark, smoky atmosphere and grow into serious disputes that threaten the harmony of the clan. The authority and wisdom of the clan mothers are absolutely crucial during this time. They are the social glue that holds the longhouse together. With a calm demeanor and a deep understanding of human nature, they mediate arguments, soothe hurt feelings, and ensure that the delicate social fabric of the longhouse does not unravel under the strain. Their word is law, and their ability to maintain peace is as vital to our survival as the stores of corn and the stacks of firewood. By the time the first thaws of spring begin, a profound weariness has settled over us. We are tired of the perpetual smoke that makes our eyes water, tired of the suffocating darkness, tired of the same bland food day after day, and, if we are honest, tired of the same faces. We crave the warmth of the sun on our skin and the feeling of soft, damp earth under our feet with an almost physical ache. The winter has been a long, dark, and often frightening dream. When we finally push open the heavy door flap and step out into the pale, watery light of early spring, blinking against the unaccustomed brightness, it feels like being born again. The air is filled with the smell of melting snow and damp earth, the most beautiful scent in the world. We have survived. We have endured the trial. And the great, vibrant cycle of life, for now, continues. In the world of my people, the Haudenosaunee, the people of the Longhouse, death is not a sterile, medical event that happens behind closed doors, a whispered secret to be shielded from the young and the sensitive. It is not an end, but a transition, a final journey that is as much a part of the circle of life as birth, the planting of the corn, or the turning of the seasons. It is an intimate, communal, and profoundly spiritual process, a constant presence woven into the very fabric of our existence. We do not fear it in the abstract, for we have seen it many times. We have seen it in the faces of our grandparents, their breath growing shallow as they faded by the warmth of the central fire, their stories trailing into silence. We have seen it in the small, still bodies of infants who did not survive the biting cold of their first winter, their spirits like flickering flames, extinguished before they could truly burn bright. We have seen it in the vacant eyes of a warrior brought back from a raid, his strength and vitality stolen by the swift, brutal finality of conflict. We understand death not as a malevolent force, but as a power capable of tearing the intricate web of our community, a rent that must be carefully and collectively mended. When the time of passing draws near for one of our own, they are not isolated or hidden away. To do so would be the cruelest of acts, for the journey into the spirit world is one that requires the strength and love of family to begin. The dying remain in the heart of the longhouse, the center of our world, surrounded by the familiar sounds and smells of home and by the comforting presence of their kin. They lie on their fur-lined pallet, the scent of wood smoke and drying herbs filling the air, the low murmur of daily life, a constant, reassuring hum. The shaman, the one who walks between the worlds, may be summoned. His arrival is not one of grim pronouncement, but of gentle guidance. He may perform a final ritual, his voice a low chant, the smoke of sacred tobacco carrying his prayers upwards to ease the soul's passage, to ensure the path ahead is clear of malevolent spirits or unforeseen obstacles. He may offer a final draught of a specially prepared herbal tea, not to prolong life, but to calm the spirit and loosen its ties to the physical world. However, the primary caretakers are the family, the members of their clan. This is our most sacred duty. We sit with the dying person in shifts, a constant, quiet vigil. A daughter will hold her mother's hand, its skin as thin and dry as a fallen leaf, and speak to her in the soft, lilting tones of our language, recounting stories of her youth, of happy times, of the legacy she leaves behind. A son will gently moisten his father's lips with a cloth dipped in cool water, offering comfort in the face of the body's final labors. It is a shared stillness, a sacred space where the living and the dying occupy the same liminal plane, a testament to the enduring bonds of kinship. The air is thick with unspoken love and the palpable weight of impending loss. It is a time for final words to be exchanged, for forgiveness to be sought and granted, for the threads of a life to be gathered together in a final meaningful tapestry. When the final breath is taken, a profound and sorrowful wail rises from the women of the family. It is not a performance or a prescribed ritual. It is a raw, unrestrained, and cathartic expression of grief that erupts from the very depths of their being. The sound, a chorus of pure anguish, echoes through the long, smoke-filled expanse of the longhouse, a stark announcement that a light has been extinguished from our world. It is a signal to all that the community has been diminished, that a tear has been rent in the fabric of our shared lives. The entire village, upon hearing this cry, enters a period of profound and solemn mourning. Immediately, the deceased's closest relatives, those who feel the loss most acutely, will begin the outward display of their sorrow. They will blacken their faces with charcoal from the fire, a stark and visible mask of their grief that separates them from the ordinary world of the living. This is not a mere symbol, but a physical manifestation of the darkness that has fallen upon their hearts. In a further act of profound mourning, they will cut their hair, a deeply personal sacrifice, for our hair is a source of strength and identity. To sever it is to sever a part of oneself, to show the world the depth of their loss. They may also give away some of their most cherished possessions, a demonstration that worldly goods have lost their meaning in the face of such a devastating void. The sacred task of preparing the body for its final journey falls to the family. It is a final act of love and respect, performed with gentle hands and heavy hearts. The body is washed with cool water, infused with sweet grass and other purifying herbs, cleansing it of the sweat and struggle of its final moments. It is then dressed in the finest clothes the person owned, garments meticulously decorated with intricate beadwork or the delicate artistry of porcupine quill work, patterns that tell the story of their clan and their life. Their feet are shod in new moccasins, for the path to the spirit world is long and arduous. Once prepared, the body is laid out in a place of honor within the longhouse for a day or two. This is a time for the entire community to come and pay their respects, to gaze upon the familiar face one last time, and to say their silent or spoken farewells. Friends will come and sit for a while, sharing quiet memories, offering condolences to the grieving family. Warriors will stand in silent tribute to a fallen comrade. Clan mothers will offer prayers for the spirit's safe passage. Our burial practices vary among the nations of our confederacy, but the core beliefs remain the same. Typically, the body is interred in the ground, the earth from which we all come and to which we all must return. We dig the grave with sharpened sticks and hoes made from the shoulder blades of deer or elk. It is hard, slow work, a physical exertion that allows for a different kind of release, a channeling of grief into labor. The grave is often dug on a high piece of ground, a place that overlooks a valley or a river, a final vantage point from which the spirit can gaze upon the world it is leaving behind. The body is wrapped in warm furs or the protective embrace of bark and placed in the grave, often in a flexed position, as if sleeping or returning to the safety of the womb. Crucially, the departed is not sent on their journey empty-handed. Placed in the grave alongside the body are items that the person will need for their journey into the spirit world. These are not mere tokens, but essential provisions. A small clay pot of food, perhaps corn mush or dried venison, is included to provide sustenance. For a hunter, his favorite bow and a quiver of arrows are placed by his side. For a woman, her pottery tools or a basket of seeds might be included. For a child, a favorite toy. We believe that the soul is embarking on a long and difficult journey to the land of the dead, a place that lies far to the west, at the very end of the trail of the setting sun. These grave goods are vital for that journey, a testament to our belief that life, in another form, continues. The soul's journey is said to be perilous, a path fraught with challenges. Our stories tell us that it must cross a swift, deep river, a torrent that threatens to wash away the unprepared or the unworthy. Some say a great, shifting log serves as a bridge, and one must have lived a good life to cross it with a steady foot. Others speak of a great chasm that must be leaped. But this is not a journey to be undertaken alone. The spirits of ancestors, those who have made the journey before, are there to guide the way. They appear on the far bank of the river, their familiar faces offering encouragement, their hands reaching out to help the newly arrived soul. Our conception of the afterlife is not one of heavenly reward or eternal punishment based on a tally of one's deeds. It is simply another place, a world much like our own, but perfected. It is a land without sickness, hunger, or the strife of war. It is a place where the spirits of our ancestors live on in peace and harmony, where the hunting is always good and the deer are plentiful, where the corn, beans, and squash in the fields are always bountiful and require no toil. It is a continuation of the life we know and love, but free from its sorrows and hardships. There, families are reunited, and the community of the dead mirrors the community of the living. After the burial, the formal period of mourning continues, a quiet and introspective time for the family and the community. The name of the deceased is no longer spoken aloud. This is done out of profound respect for their soul's journey, as calling their name might tether them to this world, making it harder for them to move on. It is also a way to allow the sharpest edges of grief to soften among the living, to prevent the constant reopening of the wound. This period of silence might last for 10 days for most, but in the case of a great sachem, a respected warrior, or a beloved clan mother, the mourning and the silence surrounding their name can last for up to a year. During this time, the family withdraws from many of the community's joyous activities, their blackened faces a constant reminder of their loss. At the end of this prescribed period, a great feast is held. This is not a celebration of the death itself, but a joyous and vibrant celebration of the person's life. It marks the formal end of mourning and the re-entry of the grieving family into the full life of the community. The entire village gathers, and vast quantities of food are prepared. It is a time for storytelling, for laughter to once again be heard. People rise and share memories of the one who has passed, tales of their bravery, their kindness, their humor, their skill. Through these stories, the essence of the person is brought back into the heart of the community, not as a source of pain, but as an enduring and cherished part of our collective history. At this feast, the deceased is formally released, their spirit now believed to be fully integrated into the land of the dead. The mourners then go to the river and wash the charcoal from their faces, the clean water, a symbol of their return to the world of the living. Life, for them, must go on. The loss of a person creates a hole in the intricate social and spiritual fabric of our community, and this hole must be filled to maintain balance and continuity. Our society is a complex web of reciprocal duties and responsibilities, and a missing thread weakens the whole. If a great warrior has died, his name and his titles are not lost forever. They may be passed on to a younger man who, through his own deeds and character, has proven himself worthy of such an honor. This is a solemn ceremony, where the young man in effect takes on the responsibilities and the legacy of the one who has gone before. If a clan mother has passed, a successor is chosen from among the women of her lineage, ensuring that the wisdom and authority of the clan's leadership continue unbroken. The continuity of the clan is paramount, for it is the foundation of our nation. Life, for us, is a circle, without a true beginning or a true end. A soul departs from this world, and soon a new baby is born, its cry filling the space left by the silence of death. A name is retired with reverence, and eventually, after a suitable time has passed, it is given again to a new child, allowing the spirit and the memory of the ancestor to live on in a new generation. Death, therefore, is not an end. It is a transformation, a transition, a vital and necessary part of the endless, sacred cycle that connects me, my clan, my ancestors, and the vibrant spirit world that surrounds and sustains us all. It is the final, quiet act in a life of labor, ritual, and belonging, the gentle closing of a door to this world and the opening of a door to the next. So, your journey in this world is over. You have felt the smoke in your lungs and the ache in your back. You have known the security of the longhouse and the terror of a war cry. You have tasted the sweetness of maple sap and the bitterness of famine bread. You have lived a life dictated not by clocks and calendars, but by the sun, the moon, and the slow, powerful turning of the seasons. Was it a simple life? No. It was a life of incredible complexity, governed by a web of social, spiritual, and ecological rules that were as intricate and essential as the weave of a basket. Was it a paradise? Far from it. It was a life of constant hardship, of ever-present danger, where a single mistaker spoiled cache of corn, a moment of inattention on the hunt, a poorly set broken bone could mean the end. The romantic vision of a people living effortlessly in a state of grace is a fantasy. Their grace came from their resilience. Their harmony came from their hard-won knowledge. The people of the eastern woodlands were not passive figures in a pristine landscape. They were active shapers of their world. They managed the forest with fire, cultivated gardens of stunning ingenuity, and built societies based on principles of reciprocity and balance that were, in many ways, more sophisticated than the feudal hierarchies across the ocean. They lived with a deep, abiding understanding that their survival was not guaranteed. It had to be earned, every single day, through work, through ritual, and through the strength of their kinship. When you step back into your modern world, with its soft beds, its instant food, its sanitized and predictable existence, it's easy to judge their world as brutal or primitive. But perhaps that is our own failure of imagination. They possessed a kind of wealth. We have lost a profound connection to their world, a deep sense of belonging, and a resilience of body and spirit that is difficult for us to comprehend. The longhouses are gone now. The forests have been tamed. The great river valleys are home to cities that pulse with a different kind of life. But the echoes of that world are still there, if you know how to listen. They are in the names of the rivers and the mountains. They are in the quiet wisdom of the three sisters. And they are in the enduring spirit of the descendants of those who lived this life, not as a story, but as a reality. They didn't live in a boring, static history. They lived in a world that was vibrant, dangerous, and deeply human. They survived not because life was easy, but because they were strong. And that strength, that quiet, enduring persistence, is a story worth remembering, especially in the deep, quiet hours of the night.